All right, here we go with Lesson 1, the Principles of Algebra. Principles means the basics. So our target is to understand and apply the basic principles of algebra. And here we go. When we're doing algebra, what we want to think about is, first of all, we want to follow these 3 steps. 1, we want to work out what to do to remove so we get left with x equals. Then we remove it by doing the opposite of the given operation. So adding is the opposite of subtracting, subtracting is the opposite of adding, dividing is the opposite of multiplication, and you guessed it, multiplication is the opposite of division. And then you do that to both sides of the operation. So remember those steps. Here we go. All right, so if you look at the top always, I'm going to have the guide up here for us to go back and look at. So the first thing we want to do is work out what to remove to get x equals. Our pawn is our x, or our variable, and we want our pawn to be equal to the other side. Well, this one's easy because we only have a pawn and the 10, so in this case, the x equals 10. So that was an easy one. Now let's move on to the next one. All right, so let's give it a try. First thing we're going to pay attention to here is that we're using a pan balance, and that pan balance helps us to remember that both sides of the equation need to be equal. All right, so let's go back and look at what we've got again. All right, so so again, we want to work out what to remove to get x equals. Remove it by doing the opposite of the given operation. So we're assuming the given operation is going to be plus. It's adding on this one. So what we're going to do is we want to take a look at what we have here, and we want to get rid of this 2 so that we only have the x left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 2, and I'm going to take the 2 down, and then when I do that, I have to do that to both sides. So I'm going to take the 9, and I'm going to bring that down. Also, let's subtract 2 from this side, and I'm just going to see if I can just set it down there, and we'll assume that we're crossing it off, so it's not there. 9 minus 2 is 7, so now x equals 7. So now if we go back and we check it, so that's our next step, is to always check our work over. So if we had this back like this, and we take this 9 and bring it back up here, it would be 7 plus 2 equals 9, and that is true. Okay, let's try another. All right, so follow these steps up at the top again. So we have our pawn on this side, or our x, and a 2, and they equal the 8. So what I need to do is, first of all, I need to work out what to remove so that I'm just left with the x on this side. I remove it by doing the opposite. So the opposite of plus 2 would be take away 2, and I do that to both sides. So I'm going to take down my 2. I took my equal sign too, didn't it? And if I take 2 away from 8, I'm going to end up with 6. So x equals 6. So now the next thing we have to do is we need to go back and check that and see if we're right. So x is 6 plus 2 equals 8, and we're correct. All right. All right, so again, we have to work out what we can do to remove, what we can remove so that we are left with x equals. And if you notice this time, we have 2 pawns. We want to try to get rid of as much as we can so that we're stuck with just x equals, or left with x equals. All right, and we have to remove it by doing the opposite. And remember, we said that we were assuming that it's going to be plus 4. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is plus 4. To get rid of the plus 4, we want to do minus 4. So we minus 4 from this side, and then we're going to minus 4 from this side, which would leave us with 8. So right now we have 2 x's equals 8. So what would be the value of each of those pawns? The value of each pawn would be, I want you to think about it for a second there. The value of each pawn is 4. So now let's go back and check this out and see. So if I'm going to get rid of some of my little things here, see if I can do this. Okay, get rid of those guys there. All right, so this is what we started out with. Move this back up there. All right, so we said the value of a pawn was 4. So if this was 4 plus 4 plus 4, that equals 12. And that is true. We checked it. We always have to check it when we're done. Next one, here we go. All right, so again, we have one pawn, and we have an 8 on this side, and then we have 14 on this side. So I want to get it so that I have just the pawn by itself, just the x by itself. Remember, that's an x, or that's my variable. So the first thing I'm going to start with is I'm going to do the opposite of plus 8, which would be take away 8. If I take away 8, then I can get rid of the 8 on that side. So I have to take away 8 on this side too. 14 minus 8 gives me 6. X equals 6. So now let's go back and see if that's true. So I'm going to get rid of these guys again. Maybe, if I can figure out where my little guy went to. I'll just erase them out of there. All right. So bring these back up. If we said x was 6, then we would be saying that this is 6 plus 8 is equal to 10 plus 4. And then that check is true again. 14 equals 14. Okay, now moving on to this one. Notice on this one it's a little bit different because this time we have a pawn on each side. And remember that our goal is to try to get to x equals. So we want to get rid of as much as we can on each side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pawn away from this side. That means I can take a pawn away from this side. Remember, I do the same on both sides. You do that to both sides of the operation. So now what I'm left with is 2x's is equal to 12. 2x equals 12. So what would the value of each of these pawns be if 2 of them equals 12? Well, the value of each pawn then would be 6. X equals 6. So now let's go back and get rid of that number here. And we're going to go back and check it. So let's see if we can get rid of some of these numbers. Not able to get rid of them. But okay, so we'll just ignore them. And let's move these guys back up. Okay, so if x is 6, then we have 6 plus 6 plus 6, which equals 18. And we have 6 plus 12 on this side, which again equals 18 and makes both sides be equal. All right, now your job is to complete lesson 1 in your packet and complete it with a partner, and then make sure you're ready to discuss it today at teacher time. Do your best working your way through. If you get stuck, ask a partner. If you really can't get it between you and your partner, then just wait and we'll discuss it at teacher time together. Awesome job today.